All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about how one of the simplest shapes you can imagine, a basic curve, has become this billion-dollar secret weapon in the race to build the most powerful computer chips on the planet.
And I know what you're probably thinking. Curves? Really? Big whoop, right? How can something so simple even matter in a world as insanely complex as making semiconductors? It seems too basic to be a big deal. But that's the whole point. That simple curve is everything. It's the key that finally lets chipmakers use the insane parallel power of GPUs to design and manufacture the templates for all the tech that's coming next. And if you want to see this in action, we have to look at the absolute cutting edge. We're talking about TSMC's brand new 2-nanometer process. They're calling it the world's most advanced logic technology. And for the very first time, it's being built with these revolutionary, curvy designs.
Okay, so quick refresher. How are chips actually made? Well, at the very heart of it all is a process called photolithography. The easiest way to think about it is like a super high-tech projector. You've got this template, it's called a photomask, and it has the chip's design on it. You shine a special kind of light through that template to shrink and literally print the design onto a silicon wafer, building the chip layer by tiny layer.
And you can't overstate how important these photomasks are. I mean, the value is just staggering. A full set for a single chip can have up to 70 different masks. Each one takes days to create, and the whole set can cost tens of millions of dollars. And more than that, they hold a company's crown jewels, all the secret sauce, the IP, from giants like Apple or NVIDIA. They have to be absolutely perfect.
And that brings us to the central conflict of this whole story. For decades, there's been this huge gap between the perfect blueprint for a chip and the actual tools we had to make it.
So, to get around all the weird ways light bends and distorts, engineers came up with this brilliant idea called inverse lithography technology, or ILT. Now, instead of just drawing the chip design on the mask, ILT works backward. It says, okay, what's the final pattern we want on the silicon? And then it calculates the absolute perfect, most optimal mask design to create it. And you know what? These designs, they look totally alien.
And this slide just lays out the problem perfectly. On one side, you have what physics wants, the laws of light. They love curves. So the ideal ILT designs are smooth, they're organic, but the machines we use to make the masks could only draw straight lines, only rectangles and squares. So we had to take these beautiful, theoretically perfect designs and just chop them up into a blocky, jagged, crude approximation.
This process got the nickname Manhattanization because it kind of looks like a city grid, and it was a terrible compromise. You lose so much detail. It's like the difference between a beautiful, crisp Retina display and an old, fuzzy TV screen. It added extra steps, it slowed everything down, and maybe worst of all, the machine had to physically draw millions and millions of tiny little boxes instead of one smooth line. It took forever.
So what was the end result of all this? Well, for years, this incredible idea, ILT, was basically trapped in a university lecture hall. Everyone in the industry knew it was the perfect solution, but it was just too slow, too impractical to actually use in a real factory. It was this amazing dream that just could not meet reality. Until now. So how did we finally solve this problem? Well, things started to change when a whole new generation of hardware showed up, a tool that could finally break free from the tyranny of the straight line.
Meet the multi-beam mask writer. The whole idea is just genius. Instead of one big, clunky beam that can only draw rectangles, it takes a single electron beam and splits it into 250,000, 250,000 tiny, controllable beamlets. Each one acts like a tiny pixel you can turn on or off. And by moving the mask underneath this giant grid of pixels, you can literally paint smooth, perfect curves right onto the template. It's incredible.
But here's a really interesting twist in the story. Fabs like TSMC, they didn't buy these multi-billion-dollar machines just to draw curves. That wasn't the main goal, initially. They bought them to solve a different problem, speed. The designs for new EUV chips were getting so complex that the old single-beam machines were taking like 72 hours for a single mask. The multi-beam writers were a way to get that time back under control. The fact that they could also draw curves, that was almost a bonus. So, we've got the tool that can draw the curves. The hardware is there. But that's only half the equation, right? You still need the brain, powerful enough to actually calculate those incredibly complex, alien-looking ILT designs to begin with.
And the scale of that calculation is it's hard to even wrap your head around. For a modern chip,
running a full, perfect ILT simulation could take up to 30 million CPU hours. I mean, that is just an astronomical number. It's not practical.
And this right here is where the GPU revolution kicks in. Just look at this comparison. Even if you had a massive data center with 40,000 CPUs, it would still take you up to 10 days to crunch the numbers for one mask. But GPUs, because they are built for these kinds of massive parallel jobs, just 500 of them can do the exact same thing overnight. It is a complete and total game changer.
And this isn't some far-off theory. This is happening right now. With software libraries like NVIDIA's cuLitho, which TSMC is putting into production as we speak, this is the new reality. A process that was a 2-week-long bottleneck is now something you just run overnight. What was once basically impossible is now routine.
Okay, so the hardware is here, the software is here, it all works. But why is this all coming together right now? What was that final push that finally made curvy masks a reality in high-volume manufacturing?
Well, the answer is pretty simple. Money. Specifically, the AI boom. Building chips for AI is incredibly profitable right now. Unlike, say, the super price-sensitive mobile phone market, the profit margins on AI hardware are huge. And that dynamic, that gusher of cash, is what finally justified the massive investment needed to bring both of these technologies, the multi-beam writers and the GPU-powered software, into the mainstream.
And this is the part that I think is really cool, the part that's going to affect all of us. These incredible breakthroughs, which were paid for by the AI gold rush, they're not going to stay locked away in data centers forever. You know, it's kind of like how technology from Formula One racing eventually shows up in our normal cars. These advanced chip-making techniques are going to filter down and make the chips in our phones, our cars, our homes, everything better, faster, and way more efficient.
But you know what's really wild? Today's curvy masks, they still look kind of like things we can recognize. We haven't even really started to tap into the full, almost psychedelic potential of what ILT can dream up. So that leaves you with one last thought. If this is just the very beginning, what's our world going to look like when our chips' designs stop looking like blueprints and start looking truly alien?